Pottery is made of paste, and paste is a pretty simple combination of clay, water, and temper. Well, why do you need temper? Well, one reason is to make the clay more easy to work with. The primary reason is to allow moisture to escape from the inside of the vessels. If you just take pure clay, modeling clay or whatever, and try to form it into a vessel and then fire it, it'll blow up, because the moisture that's trapped inside the layers of the clay, the lamina of the clay, and the inside of the vessel wall can't escape to the exterior. And so one of the main functions of the temper is to allow the pots to dry both before firing and during firing. Temper occurs in many different forms. Occasionally there's enough grit in the clay itself where there doesn't really need to be much of an additive of temper. Maybe the most common temper that we see in the Great Lakes parks is just termed grit. And that's sort of a catch-all term for any kind of little rock fragments, where they actually take fire-cracked rock that's already kind of falling apart because it's been used over and over again, and they just grind it up. And so a lot of the temper that we see in those vessels is grit, but it's actually fire-cracked rock that's been further pulverized. A common and early temper is sand. It seems to be particularly prevalent in early woodland materials, and basically when you feel those sherds, they almost kind of feel like sandpaper, really. And if you were to crack a fresh edge, it's not like it's the paste is just really sandy. It just has a tremendous sand texture to it. A lot of times they erode too. A lot of the sherds seem to have the surfaces there. They don't hold together real well, I guess, after firing is what I'm saying. And so think of it as a typically early tempering technique there. The other most obvious one that we have surprisingly, throughout the Great Lakes, over to Voyageurs, and certainly down into Arkansas, is shell temper. More often, shell temper is difficult to see because it leaches out of the surfaces of the vessels, and so you don't actually see it on the surface, and you won't actually see it in the edges, because it'll leach out of the edges of the pottery as well. And so in some cases, if you crack a little fresh edge, all of a sudden you'll see all these shells in it. But what you'll look for if it's eroded out is you'll see where the shell is missing, and you'll see little platy, little thin voids, both in the broken edges of the pot, but also on the surfaces where the shell's leached out. Another type is grog temper. And grog temper is the taking of sherds and grinding them up and using them as temper in another pot, in a new pot. So all of these tempers are common and widespread, except for the plant type, which we won't see in the Midwest.